all of a sudden schools closed.
Oh my God. I had some anxiety. I was scared.
I was shook. I was.
It was scary.
Just to think of how that would affect our city.
The city communities were ravaged.
Food was needed out there.
Employees passing.
My fears were that my family was gonna get it.
Children's parents passing.
People were getting desperate.
It's hurt, sad, depressed.
I don't care who you are.
It was catastrophic, to be honest.
We have been shook by COVID.
There are moments thrown upon us. That is all there will ever be. How will you respond? What will be your legacy?
We show up and we show out each and every time.
We hang tough.
And we're going to be even better and even stronger.
For the ready and the willing. Yeah, for the energy I'm feeling. Yeah, for the winners in the building. Yeah, for the what? For the love. For the ready and the willing. For the energy I'm feeling. For the winners in the building. For the love.
Before Motor City, Motown, and even the D, Detroit, Michigan was deemed the city of trees, not only enabling our ability to breathe and lavishing the landscape with colorful leaves, Earth's perennial pillars provide for each other with intricate systems like societal structure. As these seeds need our protection and the pandemic accented our profound connection, the rhetoric of Frederick Douglass reminds, we are not judged by the height we have risen, but from the depth we have climbed. Perhaps no perspective better describes Detroit's rugged beauty and sums up her duty. Benevolent neighbors, compassionate leaders, patient educators, pastors, believers, unsung workers and stalwart denizens, fervent grassroots and corporate citizens, behold a common goal to bring about improvement for 100+ schools, more than 50,000 students. With courage over COVID and noble dedication, those in public education rose to the occasion. The motivation, no ovation, no fame, nor glory. Their purpose is service, and this is their story.
Dr. Nikolai Vitti, Superintendent, Detroit Public Schools Community District.
I'm Charlonda Buckman. I serve the district in the capacity of Assistant Superintendent, and I lead the Division of Family and Community Engagement.
My name is Angelique Peterson Mayberry, and I currently am the president of the Detroit Public Schools Community District School Board.
And over the last 4 years, we've been a team in rebuilding the school district that was decimated because of a legacy of emergency management.
Programs were cut, people were cut, positions were eliminated. Something as remedial as recess being removed from schedules, that's absurd. What we chose to do as this elected board is work in tandem, collaboration, cooperation. And so we know that that formula works.
We have just owned the challenges in this school district and leveraged each of us in our spaces and our perspectives to close the gap and to make this a viable school district again.
You know, prior to the pandemic, we were on this trajectory. Enrollment had increased, teacher vacancies had decreased, test scores were off the charts, some of the highest in the state, and then we hit this space where COVID hit.
COVID became a reality linked to a Detroit Pistons game. And for us, we had students at that game and employees at that game. This was something that we never dealt with before. And it was clear that the best thing to do was to shut schools down. And then, the other issue became food security.
The 3 pillars of our outreach work during this pandemic was food security. It was technology, and it was certainly home visits.
Do you need some assistance? Do you know about the food?
We opened up about half of our schools as food distribution sites, gave out 1 million meals at the height of the pandemic. These were our employees. These are cafeteria workers that came in, all the fear of COVID, came in and prepared meals And we gave it out not only to DPSCD families, but the entire community.
So you can drive your vehicle up to the school and you can get it. You can walk up to the school, you can get it. If you don't have transportation, we're gonna bring it to you.
We had many of our community partners show up to help with deliveries, like the downtown boxing gym and uni. I think for us, it was about how do we cover the basic needs simultaneous to that.
How do you continue educating children when they're home? You know, the rest of the nation then is using laptops, computers, internet for teachers to connect with students. And we know that we have a digital divide.
That piece was critical, and I will say that our superintendent was very intentional in saying that we're not going to piecemeal this, that we got to make sure every child has a device to work on and to be engaged from an equity lens, right?
Was able to reach out to the business community and raise $20 million to fund laptops, but also embedded internet access, which we paid for our families as well.
The digital divide is large.
You don't close it by just giving somebody a piece of technology, because there's a whole set of language that goes around that.
So we establish hubs, you know, East Side, West Side, Central Park, Southwest Detroit.
Parents needed to frequent those places to have support for those devices, to be educated, to get resources for their homes. And then I think the home visits were probably sealed the deal on everything.
Who would have thought that we would have visited 30,000 homes? 30,000 homes.
There would be teams of people that would go to homes. We would first identify students that had not engaged at all. So didn't log in, didn't report to school. And then from there, we went to students that were starting to be chronically absent.
Because for our most vulnerable families, no matter what we were offering, they didn't necessarily have the means to be able to come and get it. And so if you're serious about closing gaps, then you have to go to them.
The home visits were completely voluntary because we knew people were afraid.
I would credit our parent leaders as one saving grace in this moment. They were there often first, they were there on time, and they were there helping to lead the charge.
It's been said that kids spell L-O-V-E with T-I-M-E. As COVID concerns gripped Michigan, a core of compassionate parents made time to conduct wellness checks, feed families, and serve with courage.
Hi, my name is Stacy Johnson, and I am a parent leader with the DPSCD.
My name is Janet Martinez. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I came in 2008 to Detroit. I felt like I was needed here, you know, like the community.
I am a parent volunteer, and I serve as a parent leader within the district with the FACE Department, Family and Community Engagement. And I am a parent that also I go into schools and talk about human trafficking, cyber safety, and security as well.
I want to also volunteer for anything that has to do with DPSCD.
We began to find out that a lot of children did not have computers or internet capabilities in their home.
I also did canvassing.
Canvassing entailed me going out with a team with one of the other FACE employees. We would have a database so that there were strategic houses that we would go to. And we would go out and literally knock on doors.
Trying to look for those students that we were missing at school or at virtual or in person.
A couple moms tell me, I'll be honest, they haven't been in school because my power just got turned back on. DTE was a partner, and so we were able to take that information in terms of how they were going to work with families to make sure the power was on.
I did meet a family that was homeless, they were living out of their car, and there were some issues going on with their landlord.
You know, just the level of poverty, you think you know. Until you go out and you kind of see some of the conditions up close and personal, and it just changes something in you. And I think for us, it made us even more committed.
What the community recognized was a school district that went after its own. And we were well received in that respect, where they said, I can't believe you all are here at our home to help. And so we noticed as time went on, we pretty much had gotten a reputation that the school district is concerned about all of the families and students who are missing. I had just, February 28th, I had completed 6 rounds of chemotherapy for breast cancer. So, and in that spring, I had completed 20 rounds of radiation. And so I started in that summer. I had a mask on, but I felt very confident, but just prayers that, and this is just me being in survivorship to not let this get me down. And this was something, being bedridden for 6 months, and they get a little emotional. Just as, just being blessed and able to get out of the bed and reclaim my life and get back out there to helping people. Because cancer does take that from you. I know this is not about cancer, but that meant a lot to me as well, yeah.
I'm gonna get sentimental right now. And the reason why I did it was because it was making me forget about anything else that is really was making me get to depression at home.
And when you're serving others, you're not thinking about yourself.
And I wanted to show the kids also, this is not the end.
I think there's a healing mechanism with that.
We had to continue on even with this pandemic going on.
Purpose to serve others.
And I had to help others. I couldn't live with myself staying at home and just forget about it. So I had to go out there.
That was so impressive with other people to know that we have a school district that went after the least of these.
My grandson, he just reached out to me and said, "I love you, Grandma." And those are the other things I love to hear. And then not only that,
that we have a superintendent that thought, let me go after the people that are not showing up. I think that's very important.
Okay, can I please have everyone's attention? Today is Miss Stacy's last day of treatment. We want to celebrate her today and give her a round of applause. Yay! We want to send her on to ring that bell.
Ring that bell. Ring that bell.
That is so wonderful.
The word diversity is often misinterpreted as divisive, when the truth is, diversity is actually inclusive. And inclusive is effective when it leverages perspectives from the greater collective.
My name is Betsy Beltran.
I'm Sean Malloy. I'm a program supervisor in the Office of Family and Community Engagement.
I am a bilingual program supervisor for the FACE department, Family and Community Engagement. I make sure that all of our schools are represented in a language that our parents can understand.
Within weeks of the pandemic, we created a catalog. We do catalogs for our family. We created a whole new set of programming online.
I make sure that those same services are there for all languages, not just Spanish. Bengali is represented very heavily. Arabic is represented very heavily. Romanian, and you have some Hmong as well.
It's all inclusive.
If you don't live in Detroit or you're not part of our district, you would not know that unless you walked our halls. A lot of our families that I deal with are undocumented. They've lived in fear, for so long, and so now this pandemic hits, and now they don't have, the means to have as many resources as our families that are citizens have.
The focus went on families.
And at the same time, thanking God that our district is a sanctuary district. ICE is not going to come in there. ICE is not going to, come to our school when you're going there to pick up a packet or when you're going there to pick up a box of food. That's one thing you don't have to worry about.
And we were just intentional about consistently giving opportunity and access to our parents and students.
They could not believe that we were out there so fast with resources, that we were out there exposing ourselves.
I'm a father of 6 children, and I'm a military vet in Air Force, and we were taught that it's service before self.
No amount of money can pay me for what I do. This is what I live to do, and it's what I was called to do.
To serve my school, serve my community where I grew up in, and exercise sympathy and empathy as to how we could get out there and help our families as we just walked into the unknown.
Rule number 1, all of this is about kids.
And I ultimately believe, with everything in me, when students rise,
we all rise.
We are DPSCD. We all one, and that's the beauty of what we're all trying to do.
We have to be able to lean on each other and strengthen each other.
I can't be all that I'm supposed to be unless you're all that you're supposed to be.
You have to have the passion and you have to have the drive.
Whoever is sitting in front of me,
You have to have a heart.
it means doing for them.
Something that may be small for me to sacrifice is a huge thing for my students.
Sometimes what that looks like is giving them a hug. Sometimes what that looks like is life lessons. It looks different every day.
So you're on 24 hours, I think, until you retire, and even after that.
You are never off the clock.
Sometimes I have to be the mom. Sometimes I have to be the dad.
If I have students that need shoes, I have people that will call on who will buy my students shoes.
I have fed at least over 50 families.
Whatever kids need, we show up for.
Let them know it's more than just a grade.
I love seeing my children.
They're my everything.
I live for them.
We don't teach for a living. We live to teach. We give to each. These souls we seek, these seeds we sow, to see you grow and reach your goals. Like the friendly neighbor you need to know. We are sister, brother, mentor, mother, friend, father, fan. So cool we offer hands, hugs, and habitual unconditional love. Pillars in this village, we are the realest of the realest. Before you tell us, we already know what the deal is. Still, we listen with patience till you glisten with greatness. We strive to guide you because life is a maze, and some days you're in a daze, and it don't make sense. Doesn't is proper grammar, but we can kick it like cousins, so you understand, bruh. Back to the classroom. We don't pass you, we project you. And when we have to, we protect you, we respect you, and we got you cause we get you. And we won't let you be less than the stars you are in this continuum, our best and brightest. Beyond test and curriculum, you are world citizens. Undeterred, you will not defer. You will be the difference when change occurs. And because your joy is our greatest reward, we will applaud with reverence and peace. You see, we don't teach for a living. We live to teach.
I just wanna tell. 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 Something good. Something good. Something good.
My classroom is an ASD classroom for students with autism. I love what I do. I love what I do, and I hate what this pandemic has done to what I do. We work through it, and we learn how to adapt, but that's because that's what we do.
It's what educators do. So I educated myself on what I didn't feel comfortable with, and I ran with it.
Whereas my job is a teacher, that's not the only hat that I wear.
My title is Dean of Culture and Climate at Davis Aerospace High School, but what I do is stand in the gap for kids.
What people seem to forget is that teaching in an urban district is very, very difficult. Our kids come to us with baggage that others could not even imagine.
But what it means to serve in urban settings is even when it's difficult, you show up.
So you have to give that child sympathy and empathy and a family-like setting along with a home environment classroom.
And that is what opens up the door for them to learn academically.
And we build a village around them and we give them everything that they need.
The first thing that came to my mind when the pandemic hit was, oh my God.
What about my students?
As soon as I thought about my children, my birth children, I thought of my children at school, even the students I had 3-4 years ago.
What were they going through? Were they eating?
We delivered food to families.
125 families to support what was going on in our community.
There are some of my students whose parents did get sick, but they recovered and they're doing well.
For it to hit my mother the way that it did.
One of my great aunts passed from COVID.
I dropped her off March 15th, and I didn't see her until June 3rd because she tested positive, and she ended up being in a coma. She had to have dialysis, blood transfusion. So to drop a person that I see every day and talk to every day and not to see her for a long time is very hurtful.
She was in a nursing facility, so throughout that time, she couldn't have visitors. So when it happened, she was there with the staff.
With God's grace and mercy, she came through everything. And if you look at her today, as everyone say, you look at me, you see my mom, you wouldn't know what she went through last year.
Well, I was one of the first 300 that caught the virus in March. It was a hard transition, and so I had to acclimate myself. I had to heal my body, my temple. I just got my smell and taste back 2 months ago, but it's still kind of off keel.
It really brought a sense of reality that anything can happen to me and could happen to my students.
Immediately after that, I just jumped in.
When it was safe to do so, we continued with those home visits. I love home visits.
One of the things that was most beautiful about the home visits is that people were delighted to see us.
Definitely there was a lot of joy in doing the home visits.
And I'm pulling up on the sidewalk and I haven't even made it out the car yet. And the student like, hey, Miss Vernon, hey.
And all of a sudden somebody just said, Mr. Rogers, and they leaped on my back.
That gave me an opportunity to go and see my kids, to lay eyes on my kids.
I look at it as an opportunity for me to build a relationship with my student.
And I don't just take myself, I take my parapro, I take the speech therapist, I took the social worker. Anybody who has contact with my kids, I got them on board and said, come on, let's do this with me. And they did, and it was wonderful.
It brought us closer, as well as with their families.
Getting to know the families.
Took pizza, celebrated the kids, took them games.
Going into the backyards and seeing their swing set.
The smiles, the love you can just feel even from the 6 feet apart.
They freely opened up their homes and their hearts, and they let us in, and they were happy that we were there.
I was really happy because I had 100% participation.
And they wanted us to sit down to dinner with them, even though they didn't have a lot.
I did see where some families, they may not have had electricity. They may not have had water, even furniture hardships.
I had a situation where I was looking for one of my students, doing wellness checks on all of them, and could not find one. And so what I found was that he was living in a house that was essentially abandoned. His parents were deceased. They didn't want to tell anybody because they were afraid that they would be broken up by the system.
I was teaching my 8th grade class, and I said, hey, where is, I'm just going to say student X. I said, where's student X? I said, you tell him I miss him and I haven't seen him. One of the students said, Miss Vernon, he's going to commit suicide at 12 o'clock on Instagram.
And so I finally got the sister who was my student about 2 years ago. And so after about, 2.5 hours of probing with her, she finally said, Miss Davis, we don't have any water. The roof is leaking, both of our parents are deceased, we don't have appliances, we don't have furniture, we don't have a porch, we don't have anybody or anything, right? So
I reached out to my principal, the counselor, and I let them know what was going on. And luckily the counselor as well as the police were able to intervene and get to him in time.
I called to the village, and the village came to the rescue. And so essentially we raised about $50,000, and the village refurbished, redid the entire house. New roof, new porch, new furniture, new kitchen, new windows, new everything.
I saw him at the 8th grade drive-through promotional ceremony, and there was a strict policy in place that we were not to hug the students. But the mother side of me, I had to give him a hug, because what will make you want to take your life at 13 years old?
Secondary trauma is real.
And nothing proved that more than this year.
And they know at this point now, you can call me at any time of the day. Ms. Donald is going to answer. You can text me, and I'll respond back.
That is how, right? Home visits and being a teacher and being a servant of students have impacted us.
I lose a lot of sleep.
Because you never know when a parent or child may need you.
All of this is about kids.
When the pandemic first hit, I was mostly scared for my mom. It was like, I don't know how she got to pay the bills if she can't go to work. School is not really a hard part for me. It comes natural. I'm a 4.0 student. I play volleyball, cross country, basketball, track, and softball. But paying the bills was going to be the hard part. I picked up a job. As soon as they opened, I was applying already during COVID. And then my brother had picked up a job as well. But I was scared because I don't know if I would have got sick, and then people were passing away from it, so I didn't want to pass. Not being able to attend school in person, it was hard, but then I got the hang of it. So the home visits were to make sure I was okay, to help me with any problems, and to give me work and pick work up. They'll print it out for us and literally drop it off on their time, and they'll pick it up if we don't have a way to give it back to them. They were literally genuinely just trying to help, and that was a lot. That meant a lot. When I first started, I didn't want to do it, but it pushed me to do it. A teacher could have a big impact on somebody's life. Reading and math, big parts of your future, so they gave me my future.
I lived in Detroit all my life. I attended Detroit Public Schools. My son, he graduated from Detroit Public School, and now my 3 youngest daughters, they are attending Detroit Public Schools.
My name is Maya Singleton. I'm 15 years old, and I go to Benjamin Carson High School, and I'm in the 10th grade.
My name is Mia Singleton. I'm 14, and I am in the 10th grade, and I go to Benjamin High School.
My name is Mackenzie Alexandria Singleton. I'm 11 years old, and I'm going to the 6th grade.
Well, when the pandemic first happened, at the time, Mackenzie, my youngest, she had got sick.
I didn't know what was going on.
She had all the symptoms. She could have been one of those ones who lost her life not knowing it was a virus out here. When the school shut down, it was, how was the kids going to finish out their education?
Then I heard we were going virtual, and that's which was difficult.
I miss my friends, that I saw in school. I would go to my room and cry.
They cried. I cried.
At the beginning, I was shy, and I wouldn't turn my camera on or talk to anybody.
I did talk with my groups when we got groups and when we got group assignments.
Over time, I got a lot more comfortable on being on camera.
So I had used Microsoft Teams, and my teacher had called me into a private meeting when I needed help.
It was the teachers reaching out. It was me making sure that I attend school, because I was also in school. And during this time, it was horrible. It was time where I just wanted to tell my professor I was done. If I would have gave up, I know they would have gave up. I finished up with a 4.0, and my daughters, 2 of them ended with a 3.0, and the baby ended with a 4.0. And all of them had perfect attendance from the district and the school, and citizenship awards. I feel happy and proud. I bragged about it.
She's the best mom ever.
I just did what I had to do to make sure they weren't gonna lose anything.
In the beginning, I was it really messed with my mental health, I guess, because I was just like, I don't like being cooped up in the house like this. I need to see people, be active socially, but yeah, it was kind of sad. Because I couldn't see my dad for a while, so my mom would like arrange for my dad to come to my house like on the porch or stuff like that, and he surprised me for my birthday, which is super sweet. I'm a hands-on learner, so it was hard for me in the beginning. Like my grades were slipping, but then I like had to have a talk with my parents. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do better, and I did do better. So this school year ended pretty good for me. I appreciate my teachers so much more now. They got right to like getting us back in front of our teachers virtually, getting us in our little virtual classrooms. They were giving out like lesson packets for each subject that you had in each class you had, which was really helpful. I actually did appreciate the district for doing that because they did it in such a short amount of time. And it was so much stuff that they did in that short amount of time that it was really cool. We're going to eventually make it out of this. We're gonna be fine.
It seemed like the world was slowly closing down, which it did. And I was just more so out the loop and trying to figure out what was going on with the world around me. So the start of the pandemic, around March, April, I lost my great-grandmother. She had COVID, and that's what we found out killed her. I spent a lot of time with her throughout my childhood years. I saw her almost every single week. It hurt in that moment. It was a lot for me to swallow. The funeral was a lot. It was a lot going on with it, but over time, I'm starting to accept it, but it still doesn't feel real to me to this day. The low point for me, I would say being without my friends. It was definitely a challenge for me. So it was kind of felt like I was by myself all the time. And I was more so feeling like I had separation anxiety from what I was used to. So before the pandemic, I was averaging a 3.5, 3.0. And throughout the pandemic, it dropped down 2.5, 2.7s. The lowest it ever dropped to was a 2.2. And over time, I had to build it back, and I'm back at a 3.3 right now. Me and my dad have a very great relationship. So the thing is with my dad is he wasn't working in the pandemic. They had shut his job down, and we spent a lot of time together. That's where I feel like our relationship was always at its strongest. It was father and son, 24 hours of the day, got to do virtually everything together, even though we were in the house. It's more so I want to make him proud, and the things that he tells me, I want to achieve what he's done and then some. So he can look back and say, I was a great dad. He is already, but I just want him to see it, and I want him to go through it and be like, I raised my son right.
That's how we raised my baby boy. I got him. Right.
It just popped up out of nowhere. And I see my friends, my teachers, couldn't say really goodbye to them. And it kind of hit hard.
We made the best out of it. The little ones learned how to cook. Kennedy at the table teaching them while I was learning how to work from home.
I had to be a full-time student, full-time big sister. I also have a job at the downtown boxing gym. I volunteered my time to go pack lunches for students across the Detroit area. I would say every hour that I was awake was an hour that I was helping them and helping myself.
Kennedy is my role model. I look up to her because she's 2 years older than me. Anything I'm going through, she went through.
I feel like I'm doing my job correctly as a big sister.
I think we finally got it maybe at the end where we learned, no, you know what, let's take some of the burden off of Kennedy and rely on some of these teachers to help us because that's what they're here for. We had teachers that actually physically came to our house.
My favorite teacher, my math teacher, came to my house and gave me a Christmas present. It was full of chocolates. And somebody ate them. I wonder who it could be.
And so Kendall's teacher retired this year, but she left me her number and said, you know what, I'm only a phone call away. And as a matter of fact, here's my address. If you ever need to just bring them over there and help them, I'll help them with whatever it is they need, because I want to make sure that those children succeed.
I'm actually happy that I have siblings that care about me and love me all the time, and they actually help me with stuff.
My name is Gerald Romero, born and raised Southwest Detroit. My daughter goes to Roberto Clemente. She's in 3rd grade. I worked for the railroad in Southwest Detroit. I was a lift operator. There was a hydraulic leak. The hydraulic fluid ignited, and the entire machine was engulfed in flames. Both stairwells were covered in fire, so the only way off was to jump. There was a 15-foot jump. When I landed squarely on my feet, but my entire body folded over, and I ended up breaking my right leg and 3 vertebrae in my back. During the recovery, I wasn't able to work. There was a settlement that was involved. I was able to take that time off and spend it with my daughter. But around the time the pandemic showed up, funds started to dwindle, and it added to the stress. Not only do I have my 8-year-old daughter, but I also have my 70-year-old mother and my 23-year-old nephew. COVID really hit home for me when my daughter got it, when she contracted it. That was rough. The uncertainty. My main concern then was making sure that nobody else contracted it. I sequestered my daughter to the couch in the living room. I told everybody else, stay away, I'll handle everything for her. She made it out, she tested negative, and nobody else contracted it in the house. So I think it did a pretty good job. My daughter liked the virtual learning. She liked to just roll out of bed and jump right into class. It was like I was attending school with her. I sat there with her, so did my mother, her grandma. I got to hear a lot of stories. They would do story time in the beginning. I heard Betty White tell a story, I'd say about 70 times. I heard that story. All the kids loved it. So when they would pick it, I heard it over and over and over again. The low point was realizing work wasn't an option. So there were about 3 months where I would pick and choose, what bills to pay. That was rough. It was a difficult time. Being a single father, I think it's probably the best job I've ever had. I wouldn't change it for the world.
These are my great-grands. They stay with me 24/7. Yeah, I'm constantly keeping them active. I wear them out before they wear me out. And then when it got to where we had to do schooling, that's when I really not computer orientated, and to go from one room to help her make sure she stay focused, then go to another room doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that, and didn't you pay attention what you call it, and it would just come out wrongfully. Their teachers helped me a lot. We would keep in contact so much till they start calling me Granny. Calm down, just calm down. Go into another room. Grandma, we got this. Let her sit by the laptop.
It made me a little bit happy because I can experience what it is to be on a laptop.
I really like the videos.
I feel entertained, ready for anything that she pops up on the screen, a math test or equation or anything. We play lots of old school games.
We play Ring Around and Wally, Ring Around and Wally,
Rosie,
and
we play Mr. Fox.
Mr. Fox.
What time is it?
And we play Rock School.
And Simon Says. And we play.
Sometimes I get to be the Simon. I really love.
Hide and seek. Yeah, hide and seek.
One time we went out to Belle Isle just to get out, and I got to playing some old school games. Women look like every child on the beach came. One put a phone down, and another one, Mom, can I go over there? You know, all colors, all shapes, all sizes. We all came together on one accord, and it was to have fun. That's why they like to be around Grandma. When they go somewhere, oh, Grandma, we miss you. Well, I didn't miss y'all. I had a chance to have a rest. It's his will. It's all for a reason.
She's the greatest in the whole wide world.
I love you guys.
I love you too.
How much?
Very much.
How much?
Very much.
How much? I thought it was so
More than anything else.
much.
More than anything else. Very, very. Get your butt off of my mask.
While DPSCD is investing $34 million to address the mental health needs of students, staff, and families, during the pandemic, students were certainly the priority.
There were some students who rocked out. They did amazing, but for the majority, we understand that there was a learning loss that occurred.
I do worry about the mental health issues.
We drilled down into mental health, wanting to make sure people were just okay.
Created a hotline so families could call in just to talk about the suffering that they were experiencing. Kids could call to talk about the fears they were having.
You don't know, a student might have lost a parent, a grandparent.
We understand the trauma that our community, our parents, and our children especially have experienced during this season of loss, is how I would define it.
So we lost students, a few, to COVID, but we lost students to other situations. And honestly, I just think that those situations may not have occurred had the students been in our buildings, in our care.
Just understanding the various dynamics that our children deal with across the city and the homes that they come from, and just how important school is and being in the school building and obtaining the education.
Our focus was on them, and they needed to understand that we want to get you where you are, elevate you from that space mentally first, and now we can teach you.
I'm proud of what we did, but at the same point I have this sense of loss, and there's still too much hurt, hence the struggle continues.
Since March 2020, DPSCD has provided breakfast, lunch, and supper for families throughout Detroit. And not just for those with students enrolled in the district. We're talking 7 million meals and counting.
When we were feeding people, the face of those needing assistance looks different.
They stepped up and they really helped out the community.
It's the mom that's trying to hold down a couple jobs. And now because of the pandemic, now I'm not working.
For me, I didn't need it because me and my husband, we work.
The school meals were always an option.
It's for anybody that needs it.
Not only did they do gleaners, they did the pack and go to make sure that the families that needed it was available.
And I just thought that was really thoughtful of them.
The way to protect yourself before the vaccine was not to interact with each other. And so for a lot of our cafeteria staff, they don't have cars. They don't have their own cars, so they have to rely on city buses to come to work. And so we have employees that live on the east side that have to go all the way on the west side. Employees that live on the west side that have to go to the east side. And so that means possibly getting on multiple buses to get there. And our employees still did that in order to go to a school and serve families who needed food.
And I could appreciate the honesty of those saying, you know what?
I wasn't going to take advantage of something I didn't need.
I was able to put food on my table myself, and a way of giving back was leaving that food available for other families that needed it more than we did.
I'll yield so that my sister, my brother, they get it for their family.
And then families that I knew who needed gleaners that couldn't get it, I would either take them to get it or I would get it for them and bring it to them.
That's what we do in Detroit.
When I started here, we were knocking on doors to continue to build relationships and to make deposits. I think that's really important. So when we get to the tough stuff, our families show up for us.
I joined the PTA to help in the community.
Oh, my parents were fantastic.
Call me, I can give you the information that's being given to me, or I can show you how to reach the district for whatever help you need.
I'm entwined with schools. I'm entwined with my neighbors. I'm entwined with the community.
Whoever wasn't there at that time, I was there.
Because I'm from the old school where united we stand.
You are needed in this work.
Get involved.
If I could just spread this all over the world, what a wonderful world this would be.
Next to Model Ts, dendrology and botany once drove. Motown, renowned for its elm-helmed roads. Even now beneath ground we walk and drive. Galaxies abound, sprawling, alive. Terrestrial roots boost upward pronouncements, reach deeply downward and vastly outward. With knowledge and nutrients, community building. Feeding seedlings as we imbue children. Bearing, caring, sharing information, life's very gestation rests in their patience. Mother Nature's arteries, from tender stems and slender saplings to Claude Monet autumn leaves, calmly falling, so awesomely splendid, time unfolds, softly, suspended. Young and old behold, this bitter pandemic exposed every soul as interdependent. To endure this force, one may forge alone, or score harmony in chorus and forge a home, whereby innocence thrives and diligence climbs intelligent ladders into elegant skies. From the trunks of truth, exceedingly proud, spawns the spunk of youth, achieving their crowns. Cultivating courage where allies gather, cultures may flourish and Black lives matter. Holistic education, no split or separation, only equal positions in this ecosystem as we emulate the magistrates of photosynthesis and elevate the graduates of this noble genesis. Yeah, we gonna be all right. Onward and upward toward the light.
Home visiting will continue to be a staple in what we do because we have a responsibility, and it's on our watch right now to make sure we don't lose children.
So now what we want people to understand is when we have the resources, there's nothing we can't and won't do.
You know, nothing is off the tables.
And that's why this is so important.
When we think about everything that happens on a porch, conversations, stories passed on generation from generation.
If we don't tell our story, people will create a story for us.
You know, as we're sitting here, I'm thinking about that home visit process.
It's been done so many times, especially when you're talking about public education.
And the district went above and beyond and met families where they were, which was back on that porch to have a conversation about how are you? How's your child? What do you need? What can we do?
And I'm extremely proud to say that I think not only did we do it, but we did it well.
We really cemented as a district who we were.
The we is you.
We are family.
The we is me.
Love.
School board members.
Integrity.
The we was the superintendent.
We are compassion.
The we was the business community.
And a lot of community and stakeholder collaboration.
The we was the faith-based community.
Our neighbors, the kids across the street, just in large.
It's who we are. Service.
So we did what Detroit does. We did what Detroit always does.
We did what we always do.
We did what Detroit people do.
We went to work. We went to work.
We went to work.
We did what Detroit does best. We went to work.
For the ready and the willing, yeah. For the energy of feeling, yeah. For the winners in the building, yeah. For the what? For the love. For the ready and the willing, for the energy of feeling, yeah. For the winners in the building, yeah. For the love. For the love.
give up, we get up, now let's get it now. Say we don't give up, we get up, now let's get it now. Say we don't give up, we get up, now let's get it now. Get it now, get it now, get it now, get it now. Say we don't give up, we get up, now let's get it now. Say we don't give up, we